Cartridge debates are probably never going to end, and one that I've been seeing a lot of lately has to do with the 270. Now, in my opinion, the 270 is one of the greatest hunting cartridges of all time, but I've been seeing a lot of people lately comparing it to another cartridge that has a very loyal following, the 6.5 Creedmoor. And this past weekend, I had the opportunity to watch my wife use this rifle right here, chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor, kill her first big game animal, a cow elk, at about 100 yards. And what's funny is that almost 20 years ago, I shot my first elk in the exact same location with that 270 right there. Same location, same terrain, same situation, but two very different rifles. Let's compare them. Now, before anybody comes for me in the comments, I say it all the time, but I'll say it again. The 6.5 Creedmoor is not my first choice when it comes to elk, even cow elk. But this being my wife's first ever hunt, I wanted a rifle that she was comfortable and confident behind. And that's this thing right here. She picked this out earlier this year. This was going to be her deer rifle. She didn't actually draw a deer tag, she drew a cow tag. And so this is the gun she's got the most amount of trigger time and the most confidence behind. Like I said, not my first choice, but it's the gun that she has the most confidence with, and I think that's the most important piece of the puzzle. Not to mention that this little Bergara has been probably the most accurate rifle I've ever owned, probably even more so than my Tikka. Let's shoot a quick 3-round group, see if that still holds true. Let's go see what we got. Like I said, this gun was intended to be a deer rifle, not elk, but it really likes the Hornady Precision Hunters. So I figured, you know what, with a good bullet and we're careful with our shots, it'll do just fine. And this is exactly why I love this gun. This is pretty typical of the groups I've been seeing lately. 3 rounds, I mean, all pretty much touching. So yeah, I really love this little gun, very accurate, and my wife was able to make a perfect 100-yard shot on her cow, right behind the shoulder, double lunged her. She went maybe 50, 60 yards piled up, and overall just perfect experience, especially for her first ever hunt, opening day. Really couldn't ask for more. But again, going into this hunt, I knew we were going to be selective on the types of shots we were going to take and the distances. Her being a new hunter, I didn't want to shoot long distances anyways, and that terrain really lends itself to being in close proximity with those elk. So close, in fact, it kind of screwed us up opening morning. We were 60, 70 yards from a group of elk, and the herd bull busted us, and shot conditions were not perfect, so we didn't take a shot, didn't kill one that morning. But that afternoon, we returned to an area I was familiar with, got on some elk, and she did great. And like I said, this rifle right here is the one that I used almost 20 years ago to kill a cow elk in the exact same spot. Same shooting location, the elk were on the same knob, same distance, same everything. Let's shoot this one. Now, in my opinion, the 270 is a much more potent elk rifle. Now, I have no idea what kind of ammo I was shooting back then, but I'm sure it was something similar to this. Just cheap Remington Core-Lock, Winchester, whatever you can find at Walmart. Forgot to pull this out with the Creedmoor. Last week picked up the Athlon Rangecraft, check my speeds. I forget what I'm usually getting with that Creedmoor with the shorter barrel and suppressor. I'll put it up here on the screen, but I'm curious how fast this 270 is. These are 150 grain. Let's do another 3-round group, see what kind of speeds and accuracy we can get. I really need to get some good shooting bags. I hate shooting off this lead sled. Doesn't look like too bad of a group. Let's go find out. Looks like our average for this group was 28.62, which I'm pretty sure the box says 28.50, so pretty close. I mean, honestly, for an old rifle that really needs a new scope and a little bit of work done, it's really not too bad. Now, when I shot my elk with this rifle, same location, instead of shooting off a tripod, I shot off a tree, but same distance, almost same exact hit on the animal, but getting shot with a 270, it definitely hits a lot harder. Now, from what I remember with my elk, she only ran 10, 20 yards and piled up, whereas again, my wife's ran 50, 60 yards. I also got a clean pass through, whereas with my wife's elk this last weekend, that ELDX bullet went through really good and then lodged itself in the hide on the opposite side. Did a lot of damage, but again, didn't go all the way through. Still, I was impressed with the performance, and it was a clean, quick, ethical kill, which is what we want every single time. Now, one really good thing about both of these cartridges is that they are usually very readily available and fairly cheap. I know when I was shooting my 300 short mag, ammo was pretty hard to find, still is, and very expensive, but a box of 270, a box of Creedmoor, pretty easy to find and relatively cheap. But looking at the numbers, there's no denying the fact that the 270 just hits a little harder. But with that comes added recoil. You saw how much this thing was popping off that lead sled, and I'll tell you right now, this Creedmoor with that suppressor feels and sounds like a 22. Another quick difference between these rifles and our hunts is that my wife was using a suppressor, and yeah, it is long, it's heavy, adds length and weight to a rifle, but man, at the shot, those elk did not spook at all. In fact, they didn't actually start running away till we were headed up there to go recover her cow. And so if you haven't already, I highly suggest trying out a suppressor, even just for the fact that it's so nice not worrying about your ear pro when you're hunting. And I really wish YouTube would actually let me show more of how the bullet performed, but they really don't like that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, this gun and that ammo performed really well and got the job done. Was it the best choice? I think for us, it was. Now, if it were me, my tag, I'd probably be using something like that, or maybe even something a little bit bigger. But at the end of the day, I feel like I go over it in every single video. It comes down to knowing the limitations of the cartridge that you're using and the limitations of the shooter. Because we knew those limitations and abided by them, it all worked out perfectly. But I want to know what you guys think. Is a 6.5 Creedmoor enough for elk, or should you step up to something just a little bit more, like a 270, maybe a 30-06? For us, the Creedmoor made the most sense for this particular hunt. Would it be my first choice? No, but for the situation, for the limitations that we had, it did a great job. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. I really appreciate you guys watching this video and for all the support here on the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. We'll catch you in the next one.